I was listening this morning to D.B. Shore's Seek and You Shall Find, and I saw something. I'm seeing something that is really incredible, and I don't know how to present it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. As she was looking at Psalm 55, where he says, day and night they go about it. He's talking about the wicked. Day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof. Now the day and the night, of course, we know the enemy has been working day and night to penetrate our walls, the walls of protection that God has given us in this temple, which is our immune system. And also, not only day and night have they been working at this for hundreds of years, but also she went down into the Hebrew and she came up with the day meaning the pineal gland and the night being the D to the N to the A. And you can just go into your interlinear and you'll see that. You can apply it. But this is what I saw. Wickedness is in the midst thereof. Deceit and guile depart not from her streets. I mean, there's so much deception going on right now. And for it was not an enemy that reproached me. Now, you know how God declares the end from the beginning? What I saw was that the story of Cain and Abel is actually a prophecy, a prophetic utterance of what we're facing right now in the end time. And I'll show you how I came to that. For it was not an enemy that reproached me, then I could have borne it. Neither was it he that hated me that did magnify himself against me, then I would have hid myself from him. But it was thou, a man my equal, my guide. Remember, Cain was born before Abel. So he was in a sense his guide and mine acquaintance. So this is also telling us and showing us what was taking place between Cain and Abel. And it's been going on since the beginning of time because, even in the slave trade, it's humanity that sells humanity. They sell their own to slaves. They are constantly killing their own. All right, so I went to the story. I went back and looked at the story of Cain and Abel. And let's just listen to a little bit of what she says here.
Before the Lord, and Cain was jealous against his brother, gave them a possession. And
okay, now first of all, I want to bring out how what I'm seeing, what I believe God is showing me is that Cain, being a tiller of the ground, God is showing us that he represents the natural man, and Abel, being a keeper of the sheep, he is the spiritual man. So you have this: the warfare has begun in the Garden of Eden. Or outside of the Garden of Eden between Cain and Abel. The battle has begun. The natural man has killed the spiritual man. And this is what we see happening right now with the V's. They are, the natural man wants to completely, once and for all, put to death the spiritual man. All right, so let's listen to a little bit of what she says.
Land, and Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel a keeper of the sheep. And it was at the expiration of a few years that they brought an approximating offering to the Lord, and Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought from the firstlings of his flock, from the fat thereof.
Now you see, Cain brings the fruit of the ground, in other words, the fruit of the flesh. And you can see in Galatians the works of the flesh. The flesh cannot offer anything to God. And then Abel, he brings the fat. He brings which represents sacrifice. So Abel is bringing sacrifice to God. He has sacrificed himself so that he can bear the fruit of the Spirit. Whereas Cain thinks that he can make it into heaven. He can be all right with God just by living his natural life as good and as kind and as best as he can. But we'll see what happens.
And God turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and a fire came down from the Lord from heaven and consumed it. And unto Cain and his offering the Lord did not turn, and he did not incline to it, for he had brought from the inferior fruit of the ground before the Lord.
Say the inferior fruit of the ground. The natural man cannot bring forth anything good.
Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of this, and he sought a pretext to slay him.
And we have this pretext been going on since the beginning of time. Cain has been constantly trying to kill Abel. He just is amazing.
And some time after, Cain and Abel his brother went one day into the field to do their work, and they were both in the field, Cain tilling and plowing his ground, and Abel feeding his flock. And
Now they're both, going about their business. This also shows to us what Jonathan Kleck showed us about the twin system that's going on inside of us, this warfare that we have going on between the flesh and the spirit, each one wanting to take control.
flock passed that part which Cain had plowed in the ground, and it sorely grieved Cain on this account.
Now you see, what happened here was Abel's flock, his sheep, began to encroach a little bit on the land, the ground. In other words, he's trying to take over now. He wants to rise and be the significant one, the spiritual fruit. But Abel or Cain takes offense at that. You're encroaching on my land. You're encroaching on my life. No one's going to tell me how to live or what to do.
Cain approached his brother Abel in anger, and said unto him, What is there between me and thee, that thou comest to dwell and bring thy flock to feed in my land? And Abel answered his brother Cain, and said unto him, What is there between me and thee, that thou shalt eat the flesh of my flock, and clothe thyself with their wool? And now therefore put off the wool of my sheep with which thou hast clothed thyself, and recompense me for their fruit and flesh, which thou hast eaten. And when thou shalt have done this, I will then go from thy land as thou hast said. And Cain said to his brother Abel, Surely if I slay thee this day, who will require thy blood from me? And Abel answered Cain, saying, Surely God, who hath made us in the earth, he will avenge my cause, and he will require my blood from thee shouldst thou slay me. For the Lord is the judge and the arbiter, and it is he who will requite man according to his evil.
Now notice how Abel, he knows the Spirit of God. He knows the truth. He knows the word. He's speaking the word to Cain. But because he speaks the word and the truth, Cain wants to kill him. He doesn't want to hear the truth.
Wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do upon earth. And now if thou shouldest slay me here, surely God knoweth thy secret views, and will judge thee for the evil which thou didst declare to do unto me this day. And when Cain heard the words which Abel his brother had spoken, behold, the anger of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring this thing. And Cain hastened and rose up, and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, with which he suddenly smote his brother, and he slew.
Notice he took the iron part of his instrument. Isn't that what he's using now against us? The iron? Isn't the needle made of iron, that they're using to inject us? This is, this is the story of what we're going through now.
Him. And Cain spilt the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. And
did you know that it's killing a lot of people now? My neighbor just called me last night and told me that my little 82-year-old friend told me that her daughter's mother-in-law had just got her second dose, and she died. She died.
After this Cain repented, having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he wept over him, and it vexed him exceedingly. And Cain rose up and dug a hole in the field wherein he put his brother's body, and he turned.
Now notice how he so-called repented. He was sorry what he had done, but then he dug a hole and covered his sin. He covered it up. So he wasn't really truly repentant, because a truly repentant person does not seek to hide their sin. They bring it out openly to the Lord and let him look at it, and the both of you can deal with it then.
The dust over it. And the Lord knew what Cain had done to his brother. And the Lord appeared to Cain and said unto him, Where is Abel thy brother that was with thee? And Cain dissembled and said, I do not know. Am I my brother?
Now, the word dissembled, I had to look that up. It means that he concealed his true motives and his feelings. To dissemble means to disguise or conceal one's true feelings. But they think that God doesn't see that, but he sees everything.
There's keeper. And the Lord said unto him, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground where thou hast slain him. For thou hast slain thy brother, and hast dissembled before me, and didst imagine in thy heart that I saw thee not, nor knew all thy actions.
Now here we are in the very end of time, where the blood of the innocents has been crying out to God for a very long time, for 6,000 years. And God is now getting ready to... Cain is going to do the final blow on mankind, which we are participating in right now. Right now it's happening before our very eyes. And anyway, that's what I saw as I was listening to that. I was thinking, oh, wow, this is the story of Cain and Abel, and we're living it.
Didst this thing, and didst slay thy brother for naught, and because he spoke rightly to thee. And now, therefore, cursed be thou from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand, and wherein thou didst bury him. And it shall be, when thou shalt till it, it shall no more give to thee its strength, as in the beginning. For thorns and thistles shall the ground produce, and thou shalt be moving and wandering in the earth until the day of thy death.
Now notice he curses the ground. It's almost like the time when Jesus cursed the fig tree, that it would bring forth fruit no more. This is what he's saying to the natural man. From this point on, you're cursed. There's no salvation for you. You will never be able to be saved, because the natural man cannot save himself. And if the natural man rejects the salvation that Jesus gives to him, which he did when he killed his brother Abel, he killed the spiritual side of him that would have saved him, just like they killed the Messiah. And now if they don't receive the Messiah, then they are cursed forever, which is what we're seeing now.
And at that time Cain went out from the presence of the Lord from the place where he was, and he went moving and wandering in the land towards the east of Eden.
And from that time he went from the presence of the Lord, not desiring the Lord at all. And that was the end. That is the end of the natural man. Although he is, just like God said, in the day that you eat of it, you shall die. They didn't actually die in the flesh. They lived a long, long time, and then they died. Well, it's just like that now. This natural man has been allowed to live for 6,000 years, and but he's coming up on the day of his death. Right, it's right around the corner.